Alright, it has been a while, a rather long while, since I have filmed a writing update. I have my journal here, as well as this stuffed panda, for no reason at all, just because I like stuffed pandas, and she's adorable, albeit rather murderous. Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabelle Knight. I am the young writer and the middle grade fantasy author of the Enchantria series. And today I decided I would finally sit down and film a sort of chaotic little February update where I would just wrap up my writing as well as all of the reading I did during the months of February. February was very much a chaotic month for me. I did not get too much writing done because I was pretty busy with reading as well as emailing because I was pitching myself to podcasts and book blogs to see if any of them would be willing to interview me or feature my book for a book review. And so I didn't get too much writing done, and it was not like the most productive month ever, but I do have some sort of exciting writing news to share with y'all, and I did make some progress on my new book. So yeah, let's get into that. Started a new book in the beginning of February. And for those of you who have been around on my channel for, I think, over a year now, you will probably remember I was working on another project of mine, Island Keepers, which was this middle grade fantasy about storms and seas and sisters. And I was having a lot of fun with the concept of it. I really loved the world and all of the characters, but I think somewhere along the way, I think perfectionism really got to me, and I started pushing myself way too hard, and ended up with burnout and all of that. And so I had been struggling with writing for, I think, a couple of months now, and that is partly why I haven't filmed that many writing updates, because I just felt very much stuck on writing, and I did not really have all that many updates to actually share with you guys. So yeah, and so in the beginning of February, I finally decided to set down Island Keepers and to start working on a new book. So this new book idea is one that I have had for a really long time now. And ever since I wrote that idea down, it has just been like knocking at my brain, begging me to write it. And it's just, this idea has been calling to me, and it is just so very whimsical and cozy, and it has like magical forests and pixies and arguments over bread and all of those delightful things. So because I was feeling very stuck with Island Keepers, I finally decided to set that project aside, and I definitely will come back to this project. I think it is not like that NaNoWriMo project that I did last year, which I never want that NaNoWriMo project to see the light of day. For those of you who've been on my channel for a while now, you probably know which book I'm talking about. If you don't, I'm not going to tell you, because I did not have a good experience with that book. But yeah, I hope to get back to Island Keepers someday soon, perhaps when I am finally finished with the first draft of this new project. And I'm not going to share too many details about this new project because I am very much the kind of writer who just likes to work in secret, where nobody knows about my project and I'm just hidden away in my writing, in my sort of little writing cave with all my books and just typing away at the story, and nobody knows what it's about until I'm done with it. And so I'm not going to share too much about it. However, it is another middle grade fantasy. It is very cozy. It has a quest. And yeah, so far I am having a pretty good time writing it. February was also very much a reading month for me because, partly because of all of the arcs that publishers have sent me that I really need to get to reviewing, and also partly because of all of the brilliant middle grade reads that Kindle Unlimited has finally added to their collection, which I am so very excited about. And I read some fantastic books in February. I really wish I could list them all, but then y'all would get like a never-ending list of books you need to read. So I will just stick with some of my favorite books from February. One of my favorite reads that I discovered in February, that might just be my latest book obsession, would probably be Enola Holmes. I recently found volume 1 of the graphic novels in Kindle Unlimited, and I am absolutely in love with it. I have never read the original novels, and I have never seen the movie, so I do not know how accurate it is to the story, but I am absolutely in love with that graphic novel. The illustrations in there are just absolutely gorgeous. They're like really colorful, full page, watercolor illustrations, and I absolutely love Enola's character. She is like very smart, spunky, determined girl detective, and I always love those characters. And I actually read volume 2 before reading volume 1, which I know I probably shouldn't do, but I actually found volume 2 at a bookstore back in China a little while ago, and while I was there, I basically read part of volume 2, I think the first 2 stories in there, and I absolutely loved it. And so I was so very excited when I saw that Kindle Unlimited had some graphic novels, and so I had to get them. And yeah, I just fell in love with the story, and I just finished the first volume in that series. And of course, it is just my luck that Kindle Unlimited does not have volume 2. So, it does, however, have, like, the sort of sequel series to the original series. I don't know, but, like, right now I'm currently reading book 7, I think it was on Goodreads. I don't know, on Goodreads it says that was technically book 7. Meanwhile, on Kindle, it was, like, a whole separate series from the original one, so I do not know. But yeah, I'm currently reading book 7 in the sort of original novel series, and I am really enjoying it. It is such an interesting read, and it's also like a young adult novel, and I don't typically read that much YA. Most of the young adult I read, I either find it kind of boring and don't really connect to the main characters that much, or there's just terrible romance in it, and so that is why I usually just stick to middle grade. However, this might be one of the few young adult novels I actually like, and like the writing, it is complex but also easy to understand. I absolutely love the descriptions and all of the banter between the characters, and it is just such a wonderful series, and I cannot wait to finish that book. Another book I read in February was The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. I read the first 3 books in the series a few years back, and I have reread and I've just been rereading them ever since, because I absolutely love the world and the characters, and Kindle Unlimited finally has the final 3 books in the series, and so I had to go and check them out, and it was absolutely brilliant. There were amazing plot twists, absolutely shocking mysteries, and very traumatizing character deaths. The final 3 books in the School for Good and Evil series, I think they are called The Camelot Years, and I have really been enjoying them. I think they are a fantastic sequel to the first 3 books, and I absolutely loved seeing where Agatha and Sophie ended up next, and I also loved all of just the mysteries and all of the plot twists that were woven in throughout the book. Like, I think one of the reasons I love the School for Good and Evil series so much is that I am so impressed with how the author manages to write mysteries and plot twists. Like all throughout the series, I was just desperately turning the pages, trying to find out more, trying to guess the answers, and it is just, I don't know, it is hard to explain, but it is just such a good series, and also just a little bit traumatizing. There were a lot of character deaths in the final 3 books. A lot more than I was expecting. Like, I think almost every adult character who was a kind mentor character ended up dead. And yeah, I would say though that this series is definitely a very fine line between middle grade and young adults. I would probably recommend it to readers 12 and up, but yeah, overall that was a very great series. And the third and final one of my favorite books that I read in February was a reread that I did of one of my favorite series of all time, The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. I fell in love with this series in October, and this series was actually what inspired me to start my own journal, and it is actually the reason that I have actually kept up with journaling. Well, not kept up, but it is the reason that I have actually continued to journal instead of just stopping and forgetting about it after a week. This book is just so cozy and quirky and fun and witty and humorous. It is just so wonderful, and it takes place during the Victorian era, I think, and it follows the adventures of a woman named Emma M. Lyon as she returns to her home in St. Crispian's. And it really just follows all of her adventures there, and just her quirky life and all of the mischiefs that she gets up to and all of the friends that she meets, and it is so wonderful, and it is one of my favorite series of all time. And before I end up rambling and raving about Emma M. Lyon for like 40 minutes straight, I also did a lot of journaling in February. And the reason that this is a part of my February wrap-up is because I absolutely love journaling. It's been my goal to journal to journal every day ever since I read The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, and I have actually done that, surprisingly. Whenever I used to journal, I would always just end up forgetting about it, like a week later, but yeah, for the first time in years, I have actually kept a journal for like a few months now, actually. And I have this little notebook that I got in Thailand that is currently serving as my journal. I actually have 2 other journals that I've used. Hold on, let me see if I can get them. And so these are my 2 other journals. This was my first one, this is my second one, and now this one is my third one. And I have just had such a wonderful time journaling. I absolutely love it. It is just very nice to have like a place to write down your own private thoughts, imaginations, just anything that comes to mind. And whenever I journal, I typically just write about my thoughts and whatever I'm thinking during that time or what happened during my day. And I also really like writing poetry in them. I don't write too much poetry, and it is something that I would really like to do more of when I find time to do it, I suppose. But this is one that I wrote a little earlier this month, and it is called Dear Blank Page. I don't know if you guys will be able to read it. If not, I will also have it up over here. But yeah, I really love just having a place to write down all my thoughts. Here's like a little creative exercise I did once. And this is also a creative exercise that I did. That was to just write down any words that came to mind, and this is what I ended up with. It makes no sense. It's not supposed to make sense. It was great fun to write. And, I also really enjoy doodling in my journals. Like, I don't know if you can see that. I don't doodle too often, but it is something that I would really like to do more of in my journals. And so, yeah. And yeah, I suppose this wraps up my little chaotic February update. I hope y'all enjoyed this video and that you guys enjoyed learning a bit more about where I have been in my writing and what I have been up to this past February. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And please do comment down below on how your own February has been going. I would love to hear more about what you're writing, what you're reading, your writing or publishing milestones, just anything about your February that you would like to share down in the comments. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to check out my blog at springfallschronicles.com, where I just share author interviews, book reviews, book recommendations, and just the general chaos and rambling of a bookworm and middle grade writer. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and I shall see y'all in the next video. Alright, bye!